All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's webinar on pay-per-click. Excited to have you here. Thank you all for jumping on. Before we get started, just real quick, put into the chat that you can hear me and that you can obviously also see my screen, just so I know that I'm not talking to myself. So I would appreciate that if you could. Let's see. We've got Larry, Iro, Brent. Thank you, Larry. Larry says he can hear me. Carl, got a good crowd piling in. All right, great. Excellent. So today we're going to be talking all about how to maximize your lead flow with pay-per-click and Google Ads. A big part of today's session will obviously be on Google Ads because that is the behemoth when it comes to pay-per-click, but it is not the only one. So there are other platforms that window treatment and awning companies can use to start to generate more leads for their business as well. So today we're going to talk all about, obviously, what is PPC. We're going to kind of do like a 101 class just to make sure everybody knows exactly what's going on. How to structure your campaign for two things, minimum cost per lead and obviously maximum ROI. A lot of times people will just throw up ads and never really do anything after they put the ads up, and they start to get really, really expensive versus building a campaign that over time continues to reduce the overall cost per lead down so that you're getting cheaper leads and you're getting more of them for the same budget, which is always great. We're also going to cover landing pages, talk a little bit about different landing pages, what should be on them, what shouldn't be on them. The important KPIs or key performance indicators, what metrics you should be tracking to know if your pay-per-click campaign is working. We're going to talk about what's working now, which is always fun and exciting to see what kind of new things are going on. Why pay-per-click is the key to really unlimited scalability, which is mostly true. I mean, there is a limit of how many people live in the area that you service, things like that. But overall, I mean, there's a ton of leads out there that you can get through a system like this. And then I also want to talk real quick about why some pay-per-click campaigns fail. So we'll go through that a little bit. Real quick about me, my name is Will Henke. My business is called Window Treatment Marketing Pros. I have been in digital marketing for 25 years. We've got the top-rated SEO agency from SEO Blog in 2020, 2021, and actually we got it for 2022 as well. So very excited about that. We are Google partners. I do have a book out called Triple Your Window Treatment and Awning Leads. If you want to copy that book, I will let you know a little bit later on how you can get a hold of one of those. Q&A, I do want to make it interactive. So I prefer to answer questions as they come up. I've got the screen pulled up here with the chat and everything. So if there's any questions, you can plug them into the chat. I'll make sure to go back and make sure everybody's questions are answered correctly. Obviously, we'll have time at the end as well. But if you have a question, I'd rather you just put it in the chat that we can cover while we're on that topic. So make sure you're able to get the chat button down there and plug in any kind of questions you might have. So my company put together something called the Digital Dominance Method, and these are all the different things that somebody could do when it comes to digital marketing. There's a lot of pieces to this. It's not just, it's not just run ads. It's not just do SEO. It's not just do social media, right? There's all these different pieces and they all work together to really dominate your industry or your particular area. So today we're going to be specifically talking about number 5, which is pay-per-click. So we're going to be talking for the most part around that piece of it. So let's get started. I want to start with a little bit of interaction and I would appreciate some answers here. So let me ask you this. Have you used pay-per-click as part of your lead generation in the past? You can put it into the chat. You could even unmute and just let me know. Have you used it? I'm interested in hearing your guys' answers. Let's make this really interactive. Brent says, yes, outside of this industry. Okay. Larry also says yes. Brent and Larry, I'm curious, how did it go as far as generating leads for you? Renee says no. How did it go for like how much the money you put in? Did you get the money back out? Was it worth your time? Do you continue to do it now? Brent says not great. Not sure I knew what I was doing. Okay, that's a great comment, because I will mention this. Google is fantastic at marketing, and they can get a business to put in their credit card and run ads, and before you know it, the money's gone, right? And I think that's what happens a lot. People don't know what they're doing, but Google's given, like right now, as a Google partner, we have promo codes for $500 in free ads when you spend $500, right? But that $1,000 could go pretty quick if you're not exactly sure what you're doing. Larry says, yes, it did, but it was very expensive. Yeah. Yeah. So there are ways to drive that cost per lead down, which is, we'll talk a little bit about that today. Daniel says he spends spends a fortune on pay-per-click, $1,000 a month. Okay. Yeah, that's, I mean, here's the thing. If you put 1,000 in and 10,000 comes out, then it's not expensive, right? It's great. But not having the pieces in place to make that the case can be give you a little bit of a headache. Larry says 10,000 a month. Yeah. It can get pretty crazy, but again, if the ROI is there, it makes sense. So thank you guys for your answers. So let's talk real quick about pay-per-click, and should it be part of your overall strategy? There's a lot of pieces to it. And as you've seen in the digital dominance method, there are a lot of pieces. Here was a survey done by for two different groups, B2B. So we would be talking about like commercial window treatments, awnings on businesses, things like that. To those businesses, what makes the biggest impact? SEO, 59%, by sure the biggest piece of it, right? Secondly, social media. And then right after that, those two almost just tied, is pay-per-click. Makes the biggest impact on lead generation. So SEO definitely the biggest piece, but pay-per-click also a big part of that recipe, right? When it comes to business to consumer, which is probably most of the people on the call today, SEO a little bit less, about half of the effort. And then pay-per-click and social media, again, tied really for the other half. So just kind of interesting to see, of all of the different things that you can do, these are the three biggest things that you can do for lead generation for your business. Now, when it comes to average conversion rate, I put a little box here around home services. So for home services, as of, this is from last year, 3.4% is the average conversion rate for ads being run on the Google Ads system, specifically for home services. Obviously, that lumps in a lot of other businesses too, roofing, landscaping, a lot of other things. But on average, 3.4 should be a good conversion rate for running ads that turn into leads. So for home services, 3.4% average for SEO. And then on the bottom, here's what's interesting, 0.36% average. And you can see across the entire bottom, there's not a huge conversion rate for pay-per-click. So it is definitely a different animal when it comes to comparing it, to something like search engine optimization. But it still could be a very good tool to use. And I think the thing here is it's not really about, should I do SEO or should I do pay-per-click? The real answer is you should do both. Figure out how to get them to work together. Pay-per-click for a lot of our clients is very important at the beginning because SEO takes a long time to really start to ramp up, right? So pay-per-click becomes the tool to start generating leads quickly. After a while, when the SEO really starts to kick in, then pay-per-click becomes more of adding gas to the fire. It's just something, it's a supplement. It's something that just makes something that's already working well run even better, generate even more leads. And at that time, you also have a little bit of a luxury of modifying the budget up and down, turning it off like right now, at the end of the year when nobody's really buying, you pull that budget way back, or, ramp it up in the spring, those kind of things. That's a nice position to be in once you kind of have a really good SEO foundation going. But they work great together. And as I said, it's just one of the 12 pieces to really kind of start dominating everything that you're doing with your marketing. So obviously, yes, the answer is you should be using this as part of your strategy. You can show up quickly, within a couple of days, your ads can be up and running very quickly. And I think Brent mentioned that earlier on, that he didn't know what he was doing, but boy, it was probably really easy to get started. You can show up as often as possible. This obviously reflects back to what are you willing to spend to get in front of those eyeballs, but you can be very specific about being which eyeballs you want to be in front of, which is awesome. You can show up for non-geo-modified terms such as shutters, drapery, awning, canopies, those kind of things. And by geo-modified, I mean you don't have to add the name of the city at the end of the keywords. So with SEO, you're doing more of trying to rank for specific areas and letting Google know where you're at in those areas. With pay-per-click, you could even just draw a map and say, we want to rank for, or we want to show our ads for shutters in this area. Unlimited scalability. I put the little star there because really that requires an unlimited budget. And there is a limit when it comes to the geographic location that you're able to provide service in. But, within reason, it's fairly unlimited when it comes to how much you can ramp it up. So let's go through some real quick stuff about pay-per-click overall. I've already been alluding mostly to Google Ads, formerly called AdWords, but there are a lot of other platforms that you can also run ads on. There's Houzz, there's Facebook. Everybody knows about Facebook ads. Pinterest has some really cool things you can do on Pinterest. Yelp, I hear good, I hear really bad about Yelp. It's always on the extremes, but some people are using Yelp very, very well for their business to generate leads. And Nextdoor is another one that has started an ad platform that you can also run ads on. So lots of different platforms out there. Bing also has an ad platform, but the big one really is Google Ads, formerly known as AdWords. So when it comes to different ways that you can run ads, there are 4 main ways that you can run an ad. Search ads is the most common. That's the ones you always see when you're doing a search for something. Those ads are at the top, and those are the most common, right? But there are others. There are app ads. So let's say you're playing your favorite farm game, and up pops an ad. You have to watch an ad in order to get some free coins or something like that. App ads are another way that you can get in front of people. Video ads, another one that is we are really getting into more and more for a lot of our clients, typically called pre-roll ads, where before somebody on YouTube watches a video, they have to sit through some sort of an ad, right? Those tied with retargeting are working really well right now. And then display ads are ads that you can show on other people's websites, other networks, things of that sort. So lots of different ways that you can actually show ads. Most people just think about the search ads piece of that, but you can actually be in a lot more places than that. As I said, the search ads are the most common. Here's an example of a typical search ad. When you do a search, in this case for window treatments, Memphis, Select Blinds says, hey, if somebody types that in, we want our ad to show up when they type that particular thing in. They're also sometimes at the bottom of Google. So after whatever the 10 results are, sometimes there's a couple ads at the bottom of the page as well. Those are not as well clicked on because, typically by the time you get to you go through a couple ads and then 10 search results plus a map with 3 pins on it, the chances of you not finding the solution to whatever it is you search for are pretty small. So, but there are ads on the bottom as well. Now, when it comes to audiences, who can I show my ads to? There's a couple different types of audiences that you can show your ads to. First of all, customers that you know. So you can actually upload a list of customers that you already know and show an ad to them. Doesn't work as well in our industry because a lot of times people don't buy a second time, right? They get an awning, they're done, right? It's not like they have a second deck or something like that. In most cases, targeting, but you can target audiences or customers that you already know. If let's say you have a 6-month checkup sale or something like that, that would be a good opportunity for that. You can also exclude current customers to only reach new. So in this case, you would still upload your current customer list and then say, show ads to people that meet these demographics, but are not these people because we've already done business with them. And then third, similar audiences. So again, you would upload some sort of a list and then say, hey, Google or Facebook or whoever, look at these people, figure out what they all have in common, demographics, location, that kind of stuff. Find other people that are not in this group that are very similar to that. And then I want to show ads to those people. Typically, we call these lookalike audiences. And they can work really well because Google already has the content to know who is already purchasing from you. All right, let me check chat real quick, make sure there are no questions. If you do have any questions, make sure to put those into the chat. We've had a bunch of people jump on since I started too. So please put those in there. I want to make sure I cover everything. All right, so we're going to jump over to structuring your campaign. Now that we know who we can show our ads to and where the ads might show up, let's talk about how Google wants us to structure. So in green is the Google Ads account overall. And then under that is campaigns. And I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth on these, but each campaign has different ad groups in there. And then inside that are the keywords and the ads. So a little confusing, but it works very well this way. Again, where you can ramp up certain things, you want to sell more motorization. Well, you probably have a campaign specifically for motorization that you can add more budget to, for an example, something like that. So when it comes to campaigns, they're the top level or kind of like the top of the silo. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about building a campaign. It could be a brand campaign. So specifically just trying to get your name out there in more places in front of more people. Generic window treatment searches. So somebody just typing in window treatments near me or awnings near me, something like that. And then of course you can start to be a little bit more specific with hard treatments versus soft treatments. Those can be separate campaigns. Upholstery, repair, bedding, any of these other things that you might also do. Some of our clients do solar tinting, right, on windows since they're doing awnings, things like that. Commercial is another good one. Make sure you're showing your ads differently and speaking to that audience differently. A lot of different ways that you can go about that top level category. Next down is the ad groups. So this would be, each campaign is then broken into smaller ad groups inside of that. So if I use soft treatments as an example, you would want separate ad groups for draperies, for swags, for valances, for all these different things inside of that particular area. And then on the hard treatments campaign, you would maybe want ad groups specifically for blind, shade, shutters, those sorts of things. So that, again, you have a little bit more control, right? You could turn these on, turn them off, add budget, turn budget off, those kinds of things. So there's a lot of different ways that you could go about this. The cleaning or repair, if you do that, you can also kind of target specific different places, commercial versus residential. Lots of different ways to go about it. And then in the Google ad system, when you're looking at each different ad group, you can then see the ads and the keywords that are specifically targeted to that group. And it makes sense because you would speak differently to somebody who wants to get an awning versus somebody who needs their porch windows, solar screens or something. I don't know. But you would speak differently to those. You would have different types of ads for those. So it makes sense to kind of categorize them like this. Back to what Brent mentioned earlier, again, Google makes it so easy to set this up. A lot of times everybody will just set one ad group and throw everything at it, right? There's just throw every single keyword at that one group. And you're kind of hurting yourselves. When it comes to keywords, there are a couple different types of keywords. First of all, we have broad match, which is draperies, for example, window treatments, draperies, Dallas drapery. If you wanted to show your ads anytime somebody put in the word drapery, then Google would treat that as anybody who put in that word, no matter what their search phrase was, right? If it's how do I get rid of my draperies, your ad could show up when it's a broad match search because that word was used in there. So it can be kind of a waste of money in a lot of cases by just saying, you know what, Google, show my ads anytime they use that word, right? Beyond that, there's also modified broad match, phrase match, and then exact match. And this is where it starts to get a little bit better. With modified broad match, basically what they do is they say, I only want my ad to show up if one of these words is in there, right? So if they use the word draperies, no matter what the phrase is, but that word has to be in there. With regular broad match, if they type in, I hate my curtains, with regular broad match, Google would probably still show your ad, even if you weren't specifically wanting to show ads for the word curtains, because they understand how drapery curtains are kind of the same term in their mind. So with modified broad, it means this word has to be in there, and that's why the plus is there. So with phrase match, these words have to be in there. There could be words on either side of this, but these words have to be in there. So, if somebody searches for, tell me about all the places to get awnings in Dallas, since awnings in Dallas is part of your phrase, then your ad would show up, right? So there could be phrases on either side of these, in that kind of a search. Now, the big one here really is the exact match. And that is, I only want my ads to show up when somebody types exactly this. No words on either side. Only when somebody types in Dallas drapery do I want my ads to show up. This is going to obviously severely limit the amount of times your ads show, depending on how many times people actually type this in, but your ads will be very, very targeted. So usually the phrase match is probably the most used because it says, I want these words. If there's words around it, that's probably okay. And then for phrases for key phrases that generate revenue for you, the exact match makes the most sense. It's just, you have to be careful with exact match, because if there's any variant around it, they won't show your ad. All right. Any questions about keyword types? It can get a little confusing. All right. I don't see anything in the chat. If you have any questions, make sure you put those in there. I also wanted to cover negative keywords. So this is something that a lot of people don't realize that they can do as well. A lot of times there are keywords that you definitely don't want your ad to show up, even if they use one of your keywords. So some of these examples could be, jobs, or maybe they're looking for an association, right? They're looking for the window covering association of America or something like that, right? Auto, boat, etc. Maybe some window treatments for my boat, or curtains for my boat, or something that you really don't handle. These kind of words you can actually plug into Google and say, don't show my ad if they include any of these words. Definitely can help you keep that budget a little bit more in control. Jobs obviously is a big one. Of course, right now everybody's kind of looking to hire, so you might want to show your ads for those, but maybe not. And then other kind of words around cheap, discount, Home Depot, Lowe's, those kinds of keywords. If they put those in there, don't show my ad. In a lot of cases, competitors is another one. You could put competitors in as negative keywords. So if they type in made in the shade, that your ad doesn't show up. So you're not wasting money. If they're already looking for a specific brand, there's no reason for you to show your ad in that case. Another thing is misspelled keywords. This is something else that you can also find over time. This is actually a screenshot from one of our clients where somebody fat fingered the brand name, but you can grab those over time as they kind of show up in the search and put those in as probably as an exact match, right? If somebody happens to fat finger it in the future, you can show your ad for that. Competitor names, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. You can put your competitor names in and then run ads specifically when somebody types in one of those competitors. In most cases with our clients, that doesn't turn out well. It typically is not a good use of money. It's a fantastic idea. I mean, it sounds great if somebody types in, what does this one say? Blind Ambition. Well, let's show our ad and try to grab that customer. But in a lot of cases, what they'll do is they'll even click it or they'll call and then they'll say, oh, I thought this was Blind Ambition. Never mind. Right. Then you've kind of wasted money. You've wasted time. So what we see in most cases is bidding on competitor names is not a good use of budget. We do see here's an example of I typed in Sunshine Drapery and one of the competitors showed up. This is Proctor Drapery's ad showed up in here. So they're doing it. They're trying to kind of grab that. We have also seen ads where the ad actually said Sunshine Drapery or high quality custom drapery from Sunshine, but it would go to a competitor site. So now we're talking about potential trademark issues, things like that could get you in a little bit more trouble. So again, probably not the best use of budget when it comes to trying to generate more leads. So, all right, so let's talk about how to create compelling ads, right? We always want everybody to click on our ads. In a lot of cases, less is more. Sometimes you want to get everything into the ad, right? You want to make sure that they know everything before they even click. But in a lot of cases, all you have to do is kind of repeat back to them what they just searched for. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And they'll click on your ad. So a lot of times less is more when it comes to creating content. The one thing you have to do is make sure you tell them what to do. Click to get started, click to get 10% off, set your appointment here, those kind of things. Always have some sort of call to action in there, making sure that making sure that they know what the next step, next logical step is for them to do. You could mention special offers if you have any sort of discount on anything, or perhaps you're part of the Hunter Douglas system. They always have these specials that they're running throughout the year, something like that. You can mention those in the ads themselves. The trick here, though, is something called ad scent. Make sure that whatever your ad says, that it matches up to whatever happens when they click. I actually, we're looking to get our air ducts cleaned in our house. And it just so happens that, of course, we must have mentioned that somewhere, and now we're getting ads for it right on Facebook. So I saw one last night and I clicked on it and the button said, get a quote. So I clicked on the button and it threw me to their Facebook Messenger. And their Facebook Messenger had 3 questions that pop up. How can we help you? And none of the 3 questions were about getting a quote. It was, do you want to know our hours? I don't remember what the other 2 were, but they had nothing to do with what I clicked on and thought would happen. So it's very important that when you have ads that they smell the same all the way through, right? If you're using graphic ads in this case, make sure that the graphics on the landing page kind of match the ad that they clicked as well. Larry says, I've seen other marketing companies using their own name and brand as a keyword. Why would anyone do that, right? So they're running ads for their own brand That's probably because they don't have a strong SEO setup on their site, and they're trying to grab those people to get them to click on their link. So they probably don't have really high SEO where they're not just ranking naturally for their brand, which is probably the easiest thing to do in search engine optimization, is to rank for your own brand. But I mean, the other reason could be they just have the budget and they want more placement on that page for that particular search. I would probably agree, Larry. It's probably not the best use of their money. One decision. So on your landing pages, make sure that there are not a lot of things for them to do. There is one thing for them to do, and that is book an appointment. Or maybe there's two things, and that is pick up the phone to set an appointment or click this link to set an appointment. Either way, the only thing they can do when they land on that page is to set an appointment. Back to my air duct example, all they did was dump me to their messenger and then never mentioned anything about me getting a quote. There was no automation. In fact, I did this last night and they have not replied yet as of today. So probably wasting their money by not being interactive with it. But when they have when we build landing pages, make sure that there's just one thing for them to do. I says that could also be to see that they see their competitors are putting up ads using their brand name, so they want to counteract it. Yeah, it could be. Again, probably not the best use of money, more of a knee-jerk reaction. I would probably just work on my SEO and rank better that way, ultimately for my own brand. So, all right, some things about great performing ads. The one thing that we do see here related to these ads is, there's the ad, but then there's all this other stuff below it. That's pretty awesome. So there are some other things we'll talk about here in a little bit that basically give you more real estate for the ad you're already running. One thing you can do that's really cool is dynamic keyword placement. So you can actually put into the ad, basically, like I mentioned earlier, repeat back to the searcher whatever it is they searched for. So instead of putting in a specific keyword, you can just say, I know this one's pretty small, but on that first headline there, find something now, whatever they typed in. So if they typed in black window shutters, right, then the ad could actually say find black window shutters now. And Amazon's really good at this. eBay is really good at this, right? You type something in and those ads show up that have the exact thing you typed in. But you could do this. It's dynamic keyword replacement. You tell it what words or what kind of keyword, key phrases that you want to be part of that. And then they will swap out that content to make the ads a little bit more relevant, which is pretty cool. I mentioned earlier the extra things that you can do. There are something called ad extensions where you can actually add in some other things, phone number, links to specific pages, things like that in here that will give you more real estate for the same price. So I don't see any reason not to really run the ad extensions in a lot of cases. Here's an example for a search for Denver window treatments. These are the three results, and look at the first one. I mean, they're just taking up more real estate. There's more links. There's more things for the potential searcher to do. There's no additional cost for this to, just time to set it up, but definitely makes the first one look a lot more appealing than the other two, if nothing else, just purely by size of the ad, which is really crazy. So definitely worth looking into ad extensions and make sure that those are set up for you. All right. I kind of already mentioned a little bit about landing pages. When somebody's searching for something, you want to make sure that the ad, again, on the left here, the ad of in this case, a shoe, when they land on the page, it lands on the page about that shoe, right? It makes sense. The thing they clicked on, they went to that page. In a lot of cases, people will run ads to their homepage. No matter what the ad is, every landing goes to homepage. And then the person has to go find the Roman Shutters page, because that's what they were clicking the ad for in the first place, it would make more sense just to run them straight to that page, right? One less click, a little bit less frustration on their end, but definitely match up your ad to the landing page that it should match to. We also run ads that go to specific locations. So if somebody says window treatments in Sunset Hills, they land on a page that talks about Sunset Hills draperies and window treatments. So even when it comes to location, it's good to build some sort of landing page specifically about that particular search. Pretty much never run an ad to your homepage. I mean, I guess you could if somebody just typed in window treatments near me, you could dump them on your homepage, right? That might be okay, but there's probably a better solution for that anyway. Better situation is to build specific landing pages for each product that matches to that ad group. So every ad group has its own set of ads in there that match up to a product page. In this case, a specials page, if you have a promotions type page, blog articles. These are typically not a good use of your money. If somebody's just doing research, I mean, there could be times when this is good, right? If somebody's typing in motorized window treatments, they want to learn a little bit more about it, right? They're really not in purchase mode. They're just in research mode. There could be, if it's cheap enough, there could be a reason to drive them to a page that reverse engineered who they were, grabbed their email address and added that to your list so that you could reach out to them in the future. So that when they are in purchase mode, you're already top of mind. But they would have to be pretty cheap because there is no purchase intent in a lot of those cases. City pages, as I mentioned earlier, if somebody's typing in a specific location, drop them on a page about that location, mention things about that city, and give them no option except to set an appointment in most cases. Contact us page is another one. However, if you're dumping somebody to your contact us page, then that's like seeing a girl and say, "Hi, you're pretty. Do you want to get married?" Right? You're assuming a lot of things by dumping them straight to your contact or your appointment page. There needs to be some other courting going on, at least on the page, some other copy, some things about it. Probably not the best use of an ad either. All right. I want to talk about landing pages versus dumping people to your website. So a landing page is very, very specific, and I'll show you some examples of those in a minute. If you're dumping people to your website, there is a lot more information, and that can be really good, or it can be really bad, right? There's a lot more distractions for somebody when you're running an ad that goes to your website, because you've got a top navigation and you've got all these links and you're doing all these things for SEO that makes sense. But there are probably a lot more cons to this method. They can look around, they might get lost, the doorbell might ring, a lot of other things can happen. And they just never fill out a form or they get stuck in kind of research mode, I guess you could say. With a landing page, sometimes called a squeeze page, there's not a lot for them to do. They get all the information about you, but it's all curated into one little place. There's some pictures, and then there's a button, or there's multiple buttons, but they all have the same focus, and that is you typically get an appointment. Oops, went too fast there. Product specific, they only meant to do one thing, caters more to people in that purchase mode, which is what most of us are after, right? We're after those leads. Pros is it's to the point. There are no distractions, or very few, if any. There's a phone number that they could do. There's also only one way out, and typically that's to close the browser window, right? Or hit the back button, back to Google. Easy to test, easy to throw up variations of something like this. You can't do that with a website where you can't just change a button in the middle of it. Great for people in purchase mode. Cons is that there is less information. They can't look around, but I don't necessarily feel like those are bad things. Obviously, I am biased towards the landing page. When it comes to money being spent to get leads, it makes more sense to go that route. All right, next is tracking. So you're doing all this work to run all these ads. You probably should know if it's actually working and worth your time and worth your money. The first thing that we always make sure that we do when we get a campaign going is we set up conversion tracking. And conversion tracking is, all right, these people clicked, these people filled out the form. So we know out of the clicks, how many people actually converted to a lead, right? They filled out the form or they picked up the phone and set an appointment. Having that data, you can actually then talk back to Google with that data and say, hey, this person came through and went all the way through our funnel. So then Google learns who those people are and shows your ad to more people that are more likely to convert, right? But you have to have that set up. Typically, you do that through Google Tag Manager. That's the system that we use. This is a free service that Google gives you. You simply add a conversion tag inside the tag manager, and it talks back to that system and says, this person clicked and made it all the way through, or picked up the phone and called, whatever it happens to do. Definitely make sure that you have some sort of conversion tracking in place, because if not, you got 100 clicks, but and you might even know how many people filled out the form out of that 100 clicks, but Google doesn't know that. And therefore you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot with potential future budget. So definitely worth having that set up. Also have call tracking set up. So if you have a phone number on your landing page, make sure that is a phone number that you can track. Typically, these are generated numbers that just forward to your regular phone line, but you can specifically know that if somebody dialed this number, the only place I'm showing this phone number is on this landing page. So I know that this landing page caused this phone call to come in, this lead. So definitely have that. And again, some of these call tracking systems will actually talk back to Google Tag Manager and say, this became a good lead. You can also add contact tags in the system to make sure that you know if these people are past customers. So if you have a CRM system or something, make sure that you're putting those into your CRM system. Our CRM system, our lead handling system, is called Lead Boomerang. It does a lot more than just the CRM component. It has a lot more pieces to it. But it does this kind of stuff where it adds them as a contact record so that you can watch them all the way through the sales process. All right. Most important KPIs are key performance indicators. The easy one, total spend. You want to know how much you spent, right? How much was your average cost per click? So every time somebody clicked on your ad, how much did that cost you? It doesn't necessarily mean that turned into a customer. It just meant they clicked on your ad. Your ad was written well enough that they wanted to click on it. And then from there, you can figure out what is your cost per lead. And this is the big one. You have to figure out what that is across multiple different things, depending on what you're giving them the option to do. Is it to fill out a form? Is it to pick up the phone? Do you have a chat widget on your landing page that maybe people are, just using the chat widget? But each of those cost per leads might be a little different from each other. Now, it obviously goes up and down depending on what you're doing. Having some sort of a dashboard is great so that you can look at this over time. But when it comes to the end of the day, ROI is what it's all about. If I put $1 in and $3 came out in revenue, that's great. Then who was that earlier that said, Daniel, $1,000 a month? If you're putting $1 in and 3 or 5 or 10 come out every time you do that, then that $1,000 doesn't look so bad, right? You'd be like, well, I'll spend $2,000, I'll spend $5,000, right? If you know that you've got a system that's going to do that consistently, then it doesn't really necessarily matter what that budget is. But it's obviously very important to know that there is a return on what you're doing. And that's, again, where Google is really good at getting people to just put money in there, put your credit card in and blow through that budget and probably get little to nothing out of it. The only downside to them doing that is obviously they're not going to come back, right? Everybody says, oh yeah, I tried that. it didn't work. Well, it does work, but it doesn't just turn itself on and start working, as you guys have probably seen today. So, all right, what's working now? I want to make sure I'm respectful of everybody's time. So, what's working now? So this is probably a really cool secret weapon, map ads. So in any local, particularly a purchase related intent search, Google shows the map, or what we call the 3-pack, and it's a map with 3 pins typically. There is now a way to show an ad in here, depending on what keywords are searched. So the really cool thing about this is you get it in the first spot. So you actually surpass the 3 guys that actually rank for that. And then your ad shows up in there above all of them. It is denoted as an ad. Most people ignore it. But here's the thing, for our clients, overall window treatments and awning clients, 60 to 70% of their leads are coming from the map section. So they're ranking in this 3-pack of result. If they're not ranking in the 3-pack, they're running an ad to show up in this 3-pack. This is where most of the leads are coming from. And the reason for that is most people are searching on mobile now, and most mobile users tend to make their decisions from the 3-pack. They'll look at these results. They'll look at, in this case, what do we got here? So we've got Sunshine as the ad, 76 reviews. Then we've got Hilson with 3 reviews, A Shade Company, 8 reviews, and Shades and More with no reviews. So just from a social proof standpoint, Sunshine is obviously the one to choose, right? Just from that, outside of the other things, the fact that they're first, the fact that it has all the stars, things like that. So definitely, first of all, work on optimizing your Google business profile if you haven't done that. But secondly, consider running ads specifically in the map section. The problem with this is you don't always get to choose showing up in those maps. You can set up your campaign to do it if it's an option. And in some cases, they will show up. Sometimes they won't. It took me a couple searches to find this screenshot even, but works great. The other thing you can do here is, even if you are ranking in the 3-pack, you could run an ad and then you're 2 of the 4 options. That can be a great use of a budget, I would think. Video pre-roll targeting. I mentioned this already, doing some sort of video ads before somebody watches their favorite YouTube their favorite YouTube video. They could see some sort of a pre-roll. You could also do this as a retargeting. So somebody who already came to your website, and then you want to show those ads when they get on YouTube, things like that. Larry, where do you set map ads up from? I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head. It's part of a regular campaign, but there's a couple settings where you can set that. If you want to shoot me an email, will@wcrada.com. I will ask my pay-per-click team and get a little bit more specifics on that for you. I'll put it into the chat here. Shoot me over an email and I'll get that answer for you for sure. I did mention earlier on other platforms, definitely worth looking into some of these other platforms. Like I said, with Yelp, some people love them, some people hate them. I'm on the hate them side, but from an ad standpoint, some people run a lot of money through Yelp because it's $1 in, $3 comes out or something like that. In some cases, a guy in New York once said they have mafia style tactics. So there are definitely downsides to that, but there's other platforms that are just as good, if not better. Probably the runner up when it comes to pay-per-click ads is Facebook, and specifically Facebook retargeting or remarketing. If you're familiar with retargeting, somebody visits one of your properties, typically that's your website. You put some sort of a cookie or something on their site. Then later on, they go to Facebook and they see your ad, right? So they see your ad because they were already visiting some page on your site. These work really well. They can be very, very cheap. I also mentioned earlier on something that's really cool, Email Boomerang. This is a system that we've developed where you're running an ad to drive people to some sort of a landing page or page. And then we've got a system that actually reverse engineers who that person is, finds their email address, sends them a message, and adds them to your contact list. Can get a little creepy, right? Because I'm all of a sudden I'm on a website and then I get an email from the owner saying, hey, thanks for visiting my website. But it works absolutely fantastically. We tend to put a 10-minute delay in there. So in other words, they visit your website 10 minutes later, they get an email saying, hey, thanks for visiting my website. Not as creepy, but a great way to build an audience of people that you could upload to these different platforms for targeting and build your newsletter contact list bigger as well. Unlimited scalability. I did mention this earlier. Obviously, there are some caveats to this, but if we go back and talk about ROI, if you're able to put, in this case, some coins in and dollars come out, that's a good situation to be in. I also mentioned this earlier. A lot of times with our clients, they don't have a lot of SEO and they need that piece, right? And they understand SEO is the long game, and it is we saw that graph earlier on. It's 50-60% of lead generation is SEO. So having that in place is very important, but it's not something you can just turn on and all of a sudden you rank number one, right? It's a long process. So a lot of our clients will start with pay-per-click, and that's a great way to start generating those leads. And then as the SEO starts to kick in, two things could happen. It's probably 50-50. 50% of our clients start pulling that budget back on the pay-per-click side, and they put that budget towards something else. The other 50% says, you know what, it's running so well, let's just leave it up there and use it as a supplement to an already great ranking site. So then what happens is you have your pay-per-click ad and you're ranking organically, so there's more potential chances for eyeballs on your brand in that case. But you also are running ads for potential keywords you're already ranking for as well. So I think there's good and bad for both. But that's kind of how it tends to go. Really, at the end of the day, they're waiting for the SEO to kick in, which can take quite a while. So, all right. Let me see here. Don't forget about adding different campaigns and all the different things that people could be looking up. So in this case, this is a screenshot of a plumbing company that has all these different things that might happen, gas leaks, things of that sort. Lots of different ways to build these ad groups, but over time, you just want to make sure that all of your KPIs are being tracked, the ones that I mentioned earlier, so that you know exactly where your money's going, right? So last thing let's talk about here is why campaigns fail. And I've alluded to some of these already. Sometimes, let me back up. Google has something in their ad platform called Quality Score. And as you run ads, they watch and see how people interact with those ads. And the better the ad is written, the better the landing page, the more people that are converting, the higher your quality score will go. And over time, as we see in this example, it could be that even though a competitor says, I'll bid $3 and a penny every time somebody types in this phrase, Google will actually show the cheaper option, the $1.61, because they know it's more likely to convert. The ads are written better, landing page is written better, everything is streamlined. So it's not always just about throwing the most money at the wall, right? There is an auction process. There is especially this quality ads piece, quality score that's very, very important. So the other thing that people do, and I mentioned this earlier, is they only run one campaign, and they put every keyword in every single ad and try to just run one campaign for everything. Not a great use of your money. That's definitely a great way to blast through a budget quickly. The ads don't match the landing page. This is my really, really good Photoshop skills here of a blind going to a page about shutters. Isn't that fancy? That's as good as it gets when it comes to me in Photoshop. But the idea here is the ad that they clicked on doesn't match what happened when they landed. That ad sent really needs to match. Here's a big one. No obvious next step. They land on the page. They don't know what to do. Back to my example of wanting to get a quote for air duct cleaning. When I clicked that, it threw me to the messenger and it had nothing to do with anything. And there was no call to action. There was nothing for me to do next. I didn't even know what to do. I put in the word quote and nobody ever replied. So make sure you always have an obvious next step. That typically is some sort of a button to schedule an appointment or click here to call us, something like that. Here's another one, too many choices. We talked about this earlier. This is really bad when you're sending people to your website instead of a landing page. People don't know what to do and they end up doing nothing. That ends up to be the choice that they make from that. So having too many choices can really kind of work against you as well. Wrong landing page. So in this example, no matter what the keyword, you're just dumping them to your homepage. Not the best use of your money. Lastly, I wanted to just cover real quick, if you are thinking about hiring a pay-per-click person, what kind of questions should you ask them? And I'm not going to go through all this, but it really is everything we talked about today. Here are all the things. Do you do these things that we talked about today? If anybody wants a copy of this, just reach out to me. My email's in the chat there. Reach out to me and I'll send this over to you so that you can ask these questions. As I mentioned, this is one piece. This is step 5 of our overall digital dominance method. Lots of different pieces to a very successful campaign. This happens to be step 5. But all of these things need to be done and they really should be done in this order. So a lot of times people will start with pay-per-click, right? Well, I just want to start running ads and getting leads. Well, you really need to have a website. And the reason you need to have that is because overall quality score is going to be judged on that. So it needs to be working well. It needs to be optimized for Google. It needs to be sending the right signals. Then your local SEO, having your reputation management in place. So starting to get reviews, things of that sort. So there is a process to this. You can't really just pick and choose. I mean, you can, but you're probably going to blast through your budget fairly good. So, all right. Questions and answers. I want to make sure that if anybody has any questions that I get through those. And then I want to tell you how to grab a copy of my book if you don't have one. But I want to make sure if you have any questions, plug those into the chat. You can also just unmute yourself and just ask the question that way too. I'd be happy to answer. What questions do you guys have before we continue? You can't tell. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I do work for a company called Above All Awnings. I have a web development company and I'm kind of tracking his PPC.
Yeah.
I'm finding a lot of things wrong with his budget and the keywords. What do you suggest for maybe changing companies or, I mean, as far as tracking, what's the best metric to track what this guy is doing? I mean, he was advertising his keyword would be the company name, and then he had all his competitors in there, and he was paying hundreds a month, thousands a month for all those keywords, which I've been given the freedom to cancel all those things, which I did. But what do you recommend as far as finding somebody else to do this?
Well, obviously, this is part of what we do, but we don't just take on pay-per-click campaigns because we have the digital dominance method. It's all part of a bigger campaign, right? If you're looking for just somebody who wants to, for just somebody who handles specifically pay-per-click, I can give you a couple references of people that do that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I think for you, well, it all comes down to cost per lead, right? For the money you're putting in, how many leads are you getting? What are those leads costing each? And then, what is the ROI on that, right? If you're paying $2,000 per lead because there's so much bloat in the system that it ends up costing you $2,000 to make $1,000, that's not good. So having some of those simple KPIs in place, and that should be something you can probably ask him.
Okay.
Here's a list of 4 KPIs. Can you give me this data for the last 3 months? Right. And if
Okay.
he can't give that to you, then, that's an immediate red flag, but he should be able to generate that information, even if it's fairly generic. At least those numbers should come through, and there's no way that he can fudge those numbers, right? Because it's all
Right.
past data. So I think that would be a good place to start. Find out what he's doing now. The other thing that question will do is it will obviously put him on alert that you're starting to smarten up to what he's up to, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He had, like you said, don't send everybody to the homepage, which he was doing. And so
Yeah.
I've changed that, and he's going to landing pages for that particular keyword, but they're not as extensive as what you had suggested, where, there's no linking. It's just a page, and there's a call to action attached to get a quote. We do have, it's like a regular part of the site, which is almost like a gallery page they go to, but there's a button there to get a quote, but we haven't taken out the navigation. The navigation's still there. You're thinking that it'd be much better to take out all the navigation and just have one page. The only way back is to Google.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Iro, could you put an example of a landing page link in the chat? We'll get one put in there so you get an example of kind of how we do ours. But
Okay.
yeah, the only way out of it is to close the browser or hit the back button, or ultimately pick up the phone, set an appointment, get through that funnel, is the best ways to handle that.
Okay. It has to match though.
It does need to match. Yeah. Yeah. Or else you're going to wonder if you're ever going to get your air ducts cleaned.
You won't make any money from that. Yeah, exactly. No air duct cleaning.
Well, not from this company for sure.
Oh
Even
my
if they do
God.
reply at this point, it's been 12 hours, 14 hours, forget it,
Isn't that a cold lead at this point?
pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately for them, it's a marketer too. So I'm not putting up with it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What do you think about texting leads when they come in?
Texting is awesome. 99% open rate on SMS messages. It is a great way to chat with customers. The thing with texting is if that's their preferred method of communication, then you should have it available as a way to text your clients. Some of them prefer email, but I'd say most people nowadays love texting. For our clients, we have the chat widget on most of their websites. And
Okay.
as soon as somebody fills out a chat widget, that turns into a 2-way SMS conversation, which is a super great way to get a lead that's already very warm and start engaging with them quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yep. And that's all part of our lead boomerang system that I mentioned earlier. It does all of those things, no matter if it's email, SMS, chat widget. They fill out a form, call tracking if they pick up the phone. No matter how they contact you, it all goes into that system, and exactly how that person came in and if that particular channel is converting.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your question, Larry. I do appreciate it.
No problem. We're just trying to make this guy some money.
Right.
That's what it's all about, making the customer make money.
Yep, absolutely. Getting more leads and getting more sales. This is a tough time of year. It seems like everything's kind of slowing down right now for both sides.
I know, I've seen that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions that I can answer from anyone? All right. I guess we got them all answered. Wow. Great. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, Daniel. You have something?
I have one question. So,
Okay.
And it's kind of an elaborate one. So what service does Window Treatment Marketing Pros provide? For example, or more specifically, I have one window furnishing company. Live in Napier, New Zealand.
Okay.
And so I've been following you for about a year now. And is your service specific to window treatment marketing in the US, or is it marketing in general?
Currently, we only have clients in the US. The strategies really work across the board. I would probably limit it to English speaking countries because otherwise that gets a little difficult for us. Yeah, our services really are digital marketing services. So SEO, paid ads, all of these things that you would expect to do with any digital marketing company. But we specifically only work with window treatment and awning companies.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for following for so long too. I appreciate it. So I guess the
No problem.
content must be okay that you're sticking around. So
It is.
good.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. All right. So if you do want to reach out to me, let's talk strategy. Let's get on the phone and just talk about what you're doing now, what's working well, what's not working. And I'd love to have you on. WTMarketingPros.com/strategy goes straight to my calendar, and
Okay.
we'll just get on a short 15-minute call, chat about it, and see if there's a way that we can help you or point you in the right direction. If not, appreciate everybody's time today. Hopefully you learned some really good things and got some good value out of it. I do appreciate everybody. I don't see a landing page link in there. So Larry, if you reach out to me, oh, there we go. So click on those real quick before I close.
Oh,
the
okay.
screen. But
Let me
there's a
grab
couple.
those.
Yeah, there's a couple different examples of landing page. I know the Christmas campaign one. I don't even know if that one's live yet, if we're actually running traffic to that or not yet.
Okay.
She just asked about that last week, but the other one is a product specific page. So draperies in this case. So it would be ads that people that had some sort of drapery related term in it. They landed specifically on that page. So
Okay.
gives you an idea. Compare that to what your guys doing and see if there's some ways that you can ratchet that down. So
This guy, what he's doing, he has 4 campaigns. But let me tell you what they are, because I think a couple of them are auto-generated by Google.
could be.
Performance Max, have you heard of that?
No.
No? Okay. When I look at them in Google Analytics, it doesn't show me any keyword groups or keywords at all. It just shows an ad campaign, but nothing's in it. The other ones show me keyword groups, keywords, so I can look at the cost per click on those. But
Yep.
I can't on the other ones because it just has a general link, and there's really no keywords. It's blank. The ad group is blank.
Yeah. So I think he gave Google the freedom to basically, here's a keyword, show my ads for anything that Google thinks would match,
Yeah.
which is fine, but not specific, right? I mean, it opens you to blowing through your budget fairly quickly in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. The other ones seem to perform a little bit better, but those don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Iro also put in there a link to hiring. So we've also been running ads for some clients to find installers, because that's
Oh,
a real
wow,
problem
really?
right now.
Okay.
So we've actually run ads for our clients specifically to find for hiring positions. So
Okay.
he just put that one in there too. So there are things to do beyond just getting leads, obviously, from that platform. So we do that for our clients as well. Thank you for putting that in there, Iro. Appreciate that.
One more thing.
Yep.
So he has 2 campaigns. Wouldn't it be better to have like maybe 10?
Yeah.
I mean, with maybe just a few keywords, like you were saying, different services, hard and soft. But this is an awning company, so
Yeah, but
think he
still
really
you
goes
have
after the service.
aluminum, you have retractable, you have awnings with LEDs, you have canopies, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things that an awning company still does. Each of those could be their own campaigns.
Each one, okay, because they have like 10 categories
Yeah.
on the website.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest thing is go to their website, look at the products and look at the services. Each of those is probably a separate category in Google AdWords.
Okay, and a separate campaign.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Awesome.
Sounds
Well, Thank you, everybody, for jumping on. I do appreciate your time. We went a little bit over, but hopefully I was able to answer every question. Appreciate you guys jumping on. And if you have any questions, let me know. Jump onto my calendar. That'd be great. I will send a replay of this out tomorrow at some point. So thank you, everybody. Talk to
Thank
you later.
you. Thank
All
you.
right.